Hey, welcome to the process. My name is Dr. John Bush. This is part 4, wide receivers. My research on ADP versus end of the season fantasy points. Please see parts 1, 2, and 3. We're winding it down. Let's see how many slides I got. I got 11 slides. Hopefully I can finish here. We've covered a lot of ground in this series, all the positions, and certainly given you a nice reference class foundation for you to start planning your drafts. I'm probably getting heavy about mid-July, probably August. I'll be grabbing about 50 teams before it's said and done. Not counting best ball, I'm already in about 15 best ball. I probably am a little slacky on that. But anyway, this is all for the scienceoffantasyfootball.com. Please check us out there. All my lessons, my partner's weekly values, the way he looks at things, it's all good. It's all good stuff. What can I say? It's not your average stuff. It's not going to be the usual material you find. So if you're looking for something a little different, give you hopefully an edge. I'm hoping so. But anyway, let's continue our journey here. Let's see what I'm doing here. Okay. So I had left off talking and trying to compare wide receivers and running backs. And now I'm looking at rounds drafted. So from 2015 to 22, I looked at all wide receivers, all running backs drafted in round 1 through round 14. I then calculated the median, kind of the 50 percentile, where half the population is above and half is below. And I did that for the running backs as well. So right away, I think it's kind of interesting. Round 1, wide receivers have about 20-point advantage over RBs, whereas that script is flipped in round 2. And in round 3, we're back to wide receivers. So I have actually, after I did this, I've been doing some best balls, and I've been defaulting to the wide receiver, then coming back around with the running back, and then probably round 3, if I want an early quarterback grabbing there, then I go all in for wide receivers, at least to rounds 4 and 5, 6. Probably back to a running back, my second one. Got to work in a tight end somewhere. 7's a good place to think about it. But anyway, at that point, it's starting to get real slim for meaningful wide receivers. It looks like after the 6th round. So I think I can grab 3 good ones, 2 RBs, and that's going to be the core of my team, and then try to grab a tight end down the road, and I'm probably grabbing 2 or 3 since it's best ball. So right away, the median numbers are kind of shifting my strategy a little bit. You're saying, well, how do you know you're right? I'll look at my diary next year, and I'll look and see, did my win percentage and money in my pocket go up, down, stay the same? Be nice to know. Okay. Also, I calculated the variation. Okay. So when we look over the 8 years, there's variation in end of the season fantasy points of what running backs and wide receivers can accomplish. So round is preseason round, and the data is after. So it's before and after. And then the variation is on the after. So, variation, the higher the variation, the more uncertainty there will be. Lower the variation, the less uncertainty. So right away, I'll just say, look at round 3. Nice. In other words, probably some of the safest plays are coming out with wide receivers and running backs in round 3. So the most risky wide receivers are in the first 2 rounds, and then round 8 and 14, 4 as well. Running backs, first round is high and 5th round. But what's nice is the 2nd round, which the median is higher, the variation is very low. So that's kind of almost handshaking me into grabbing a 2nd round RB at that point, given this variation. So I think it's very interesting how that plays there. And what this, may or may not mean. So when we plot 2015 to 2022 draft round median, so we actually plotted, and I think what's interesting is about round 6, notice that the RBs take off and are superior pretty much to round, 12? Not saying you don't need some wide receivers, but this tells me you better be damn sure what you're getting on your wide receivers. And you have a better shot at getting a more viable RB, probably a handcuff or handcuff type. Isn't that interesting? And first round, wide receiver. 2nd round, here's the running backs. 3rd round, if I don't grab an early QB, then I'm probably back to wide receiver. So I'm doing wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, running back. Probably I need, and the reason I picked round 7 to grab tight ends is there's not really an advantage here. Okay. In fact, one of the lowest RBs is occurring right there. So and wide receivers are not so great. So that's a good time there. So maybe that's where I grab my tight end or my QB if I'm waiting. But I'm not waiting any later for a QB this year than round 7. Okay. I may even take them round 6. But anyway, that's how this data, I think, can point us, and we're going to test. Everything's always a beta test here. So all these blowhards, I don't know what they're talking about. Here's the data. Okay, this is the foundation. Does this mean it's going to be right for 2023? No. But at least I've got something. What's everybody else got? Confetti and loudmouth and beer tabs. Okay, that's Papaw. In the old days, used to pop a beer and the tab would come off and you'd throw it away or something. Look at variation. Variation tells an interesting story. High variation for wide receivers, rounds 1 and 2, running backs less. And notice the wide receivers that I think I'm picking this year, rounds 4 and 5, at least 5 is doing good. Round 6, low wide receivers variation as well. So you can horse in, but it looks like the trend is high variation, drops to where everybody's low. Wide receivers come back. Wide receivers go down. They're a good pick. Good pick round 6. They're about the same. Then wide receivers are very risky to around 11. And then they go back up again. So you can kind of horse in this data, that data, and that data and try to plan some mock drafts, or I do best ball. So I think that's really interesting on what I'm testing this year based on this. Does that mean if somebody left a screaming value? No. I mean, I'm not going to stick to my plan such and miss something that people have, round 7, Patrick Mahomes is still there. Okay, I'll pick him. Okay, so I'm not a fool. But assuming things are probably going to go like they're going to go, I think this is a good way to at least base some initial journey here of your drafts this year. Okay. I tease this a little more. I break down the rounds into sectors. So the first 6 wide receivers, the next 6, so forth, all the way down to 102. Okay, so the sectors there. And I asked the question, at the end of the season, who finished in the top 12? So notice the top 6 wide receivers, those 6, over the years, 14 of them out of 16 that are drafted in that sector are a WR1. So this year, any wide receivers in the first 6, I know there's running backs in there. Kelsey's number 3 in tight end premium. So Jefferson, is it Cup? Is it Lamb? I don't know. Whoever it is, look at 14 out of 16, folks. That's good. The next sector, 7 to 12, that sector, 10 out of 17. So, do people say, does draft pick matter? Yeah, there it is. I can show you the data. I know it's not a lot of data. Okay, right? I'm a scientist. I got that. But look at 13 to 18. This was nice. It looks 50%, right? So 50%. So you still got a shot at getting a WR1. Looks to me that in the first 18 ADPs, you got a nice shot at getting WR. So if you pick 2 in that, then you're probably you have a great shot at getting 2 WR1. So if you're doing a 0 RB or something. And so notice the WR2s start showing up. You get 11 out of 21 in rounds 31 to 36. That's kind of neat. And 9th here, you get some W. So that tells me that if you can do your research, you can grab some overlays here, some of these WR3 types that are really 2s, that are masquerading as 3 from the public that can perform at the end. So I think that's kind of interesting. So that data was intriguing to me. Here is the sector, and you can see the 1 to 12. Pretty much everybody's here, and I plotted. Here's 1 to 12, 1 to 12, 1 to 12, and then. So it looks like you got, an opportunity, certainly in the first 30, to grab over the years some, but I really like the WRs here, and that's pretty much what you're getting in the 6. Notice in the 7 you're picking up some 2s here, and this is 13 to 24. So as you would predict, the further you go, the more likely you're not getting a 1, you're getting a 2, and then is the purple 3s. So the purples are 3s, and you can stretch those all the way down. So tells me that I can really do my research and probably come up with a 3 a little deep in the draft. People talk about sleepers. I think if you can get a WR3 way down in this ADP, I think there's your sleeper. I understand people. I think the idea that you're finding a top 12 WR somewhere waiting out, it's just not going to happen, folks. It's rare. So quit worrying about it. Look for WR3s down here, right? Look for some WR2s in this range. Okay, don't get just greedy and waste your research time here. If you convert that to percentile, 88% of the wide receivers in the first 6 potential picks are going to bring home the bacon. 59, 50, even 45 down to 30. So the first 30 wide receivers, you've got an interesting shot. The lowest 30% all the way up, probably closer to 50. So you got a coin flip there. You get a nice little selection in round 1, but really the first 6, that is where you want. If you're going to grab one, there you go. That's almost, I know there's variation, right? We saw the variation, but 88% is hot damn good. Okay. And look, 31 to 36, look at the WR2s. Okay, that finished 13th to 24 by definition, end of the season. These are the WR3s. See, sometimes you find some 3s where you're thinking you're grabbing 2s, front row, so you're paying some prices here. Notice the distribution of the 3s are really broad. That's why I said you can wait deep in the draft and get you a good 3. Look at that. Looks like 4s, you don't have that same tendency. Looks like 4s show up about when they should. 5s show up about when they should. It's probably not a lot of data here on the 6 here or so, but very, very intriguing data, this data here for us. So what about, and I probably should change this. That's goofy looking. I'm sorry. Let me do yellow. That should be much better, much clearer. So WR to RB. Is there if anything's above 1, it's 1 is neutral. Anything above 1, the ratio there is advantage. So first 6 advantage WRs. Next, kind of equal. Next, back to WRs. Next, definitely running backs at that point. Look at that. 19 to 24th, there's your running backs right there. Okay, wide receivers, then running backs. So you can almost plot where to grab running backs, any kind of shot at some of these surprising running backs here. I think that's good. I love this chart. It's a great chart. Another way to look at it is here. I just took that data and flipped it around so you could see it this way. You can see the advantages, where things are at. So if you've got the first 6 picks this year, I think you ought to go wide receiver. I think historically the data says you'll come out better. That's because of the injury. Don't write me and say, well, I grabbed it. This is all laws of large numbers. We don't have a lot of large sample sizes. I'm doing the best I can do with the Ouija board here. I'm just saying, of the data I've grabbed over 8 years, this is what it says. 7 to 12 looks like it's coin flip, how you want to grab. 13 to 18 looks like you're going WRs. You're flipping back to RBs, back to WRs, back to WRs, back to RBs, back to WRs. So you can kind of plot it this way as well. And did I do that? So I did the ratios here to see exactly. If you got a green, that's a 1. So here's 88% versus what, 65. They're about the same. Clearly biased to the WRs. Clearly biased to the RBs, WRs, WRs, RBs, WRs. So and the blue is coming in as a lot of 2s here for RBs showing up early. Look at the wide receivers, the blue, not as lot. So you're still getting a better shot at some superior WRs, even down here into the 18th ADP. Looks like for running backs, you're starting to play out pretty quick. The scarcity is coming in. I think there's some scarcity here to all this as well. And then purple is the threes here. So it's great data. I think I plotted it. So here it is, draft round, trend lines, quarterbacks in green, and it says round 6, the data, even though everything I want says wait till round 7, I'm just saying round 6 looks pretty optimal this year. I'm really getting worried if I'm going to round 7. This is, what is this? This is wide receivers. And then when they cross, and then here is running backs. Okay. And they get really nice late in the draft. And then tight ends get pretty good 10th, 11th, and 12th. So people are waiting pretty late for some of this stuff. But RB's second round, WR's probably first round. Okay, WR's first round, second round probably. Maybe quarterback, tight end could be okay, third round. Fourth round, WR's. Probably quarterback at this point if you didn't grab one here. Or tight end. One of the two, the third or the sixth. So I think that's what it's telling me based on this data. So good stuff. You could watch this a couple times. You can freeze this. You can copy it. I don't care. Okay, because I got to redo all this next year when I put more data in, right? I'll look at 2015 to 2023, so we'll know a lot more next year. Okay, hope you've enjoyed this series. What am I doing next? I'm getting deeper, and I'm going to ask some interesting questions about how the public is perceiving the WR landscape. What does that really mean for WR1s and 2? In other words, if the public is all in on the WRs from this team, what does that say for the WR1 from a team like that versus they're not in? One of the worst. What does that mean? Is there any difference or just forget it? I think there's some interesting data coming. That's all I can say. And then I'm going to do running backs for predictiveness. What happens if you have a great quarterback? What's your WR1s or 2s look like over this 8-year period? Uh-oh. Hadn't heard that, have you? That's what's coming. I don't know when I get to done this. But anyway, I'll do it. I'm still working on that data spreadsheet figures. I got some of the figures. I could show you some, but I'm not going to. Okay? Got to surprise you next time around. Thanks for listening, those folks that listen. Not many of you. That's fine. This is not paying anything. I'm doing this to help myself. And you know what? When I talk about this, it helps me remember what I did and modifies my thinking. So a lot of this is just self stuff here. This helps me remember. This makes me do extra data and extra work to grab extra money. Isn't that what we're all here for? We should be. Could care less about your damn trophy. Slides me that Jackson. Okay, take care. It's all about that money, boss. Take care. Woo woo.